Welcome to Narrate Your Story TV. I am your host, Dr. Christy Iwuchukwu, and I have a special guest for you. But before I talk about my special guest, when I'm not doing this show, guess what I'm doing? I help female entrepreneurs create a high converting presentation that gets you, that's right, that gets you more of your ideal clients, that gets you be seen as the authority in your expertise that you are. And so please join me today as we dive into this conversation with my guest star coming to us all the way from the beautiful continent of Africa, the country of Mozambique. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Dr. Mateus Mutola. And he is the World Civility Ambassador, African Civility Educator, International Vice President, Vice Chancellor, I say, of United Graduate College Seminary and International. He's the creator of the Genius philosophy, and he's going to tell us more of that as we go into this conversation. A prolific author and speaker, global relationship expert, CEO, and founder at World Changers International. Please help me welcome my special guest today, coming to us all the way from the beautiful continent of Africa, the country of Mozambique. Please welcome to the show, Professor Motale.
One may I extend my sincere greetings to you, Dr. Christie, and to all our viewers from all over the world. I want to say thank you so much for having me in the show. I'm really grateful to be part of this show, and I really love the name of your show, Narrate Your Story TV. It's really powerful because when we hear someone tell us our story and we can identify and connect, that speaks to us, and somehow faith is built in us to encourage us to be able also to move forward with our lives regardless of what we may be facing in a given moment. So thank you so much, and congratulations for this wonderful show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to dive into this conversation. And in this conversation, I'm going to find out, I know a little bit about you, but our viewers don't know who you are. Can you please take the moment and share with us who are you?
Like you mentioned to say, I'm from Mozambique, Africa, Southern Africa, and it's funny because ours is the only country in Southern Africa which has an official language, which is not English but Portuguese. But this is where I am, and I think the only interesting thing about me is that I love, I believe what I call, I believe what I call a biblical worldview, and I am the creator, like you said, of the genius philosopher, but also I'm also in education. I am the African civility educator, whereby I help my fellow Africans understand the need for us to be able to treat one another with love and acceptance without judgment, so we may be able to build our lives healthy, but also in health, but also build our continent, our countries, and also continents in peace and stability. But also I wrote about 6 books. One of the books which are one of which is called "You Are a Genius." And this book,
Mhm.
I help people crack the genius code, understand discover or unveil the genius in them, how to tap in the genius in them, but also how to release this genius in their generation. Because Dr. Christie, I really believe that we came into this world um, for 2 specific reasons. One, to better humanity. Number two, to make the world a better place. And you can't do that unless you tap into the genius in you. So thank you so much again for having me in the show.
Oh, you are speaking my language because my language is about being able to rock your brilliance. And for you to be
Mhm.
on this show and help individuals talk about how to get the greatness in them, because oftentimes we all have greatness, but
That's right.
through life and through our environment, those greatness are buried. And you help individuals discover and crack that genius code. So People are looking at you now and thinking to themselves all over the world as they are watching you now or later on, and they are thinking to yourself, wow, it's so easy for you to talk about rocking your brilliance. It's so easy for you to talk about, helping you crack the genius code. But you don't understand my story. You don't know my story from where
That's
you are
perfect.
right now. And I've always said that everybody walks through a journey. Life is a journey itself. And we have to walk through the valley before we get here. Can you please tell us how was that walk in the valley for you before you got here?
Well, Dr. Chris, it was very tough because I remember that I used to sell biscuits when I was about, I think, even before I got in my teenage or in my preteens, just to help my family and also help the family to make ends meet. And I used to do very many other million jobs to be able to pay for my school fees and all that. But I had to push it through because I had to understand that I was born for a reason, and I have to pursue that reason because unless I tap into purpose of my existence, I cannot have a meaningful life. And then when you get the vision and you understand the purpose, the reason why you're born, you will know that in the valley is just a passage. It's not the last place in life. It's not the terminal place stage in life. We are walking through. It's just a passage into your destiny, like King David said. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. So he understood it's a valley, a valley, but it's a walk. It's a passage into a greater dimension of life. It's not a permanent stage. And this is what we have to understand, all of us, that when we walk in such situations, it's a passage. And as a matter of fact, it's a place where we develop what I call our faith muscles, because you go through challenges. They are not there to kill you. They're not there to destroy you. And Dr. Christie is more often about our consciousness and our belief as well. If I'm going through a challenge and I tell myself, this has come to kill me, I might as well die, not because the challenge came to kill me, but because of my faith and my belief and my consciousness. But if I begin to say that this is a passage, I'm walking it through, and this is a way into greater door, greater opportunities in life. So, and I understand I'm just here to build my faith muscles. So I'm gonna go through it with joy. It may be painful, but my eyes will be into the end of the day, end of the story, will be in the future, will be in my vision, will be in my purpose. So I understand that I have to walk through this in order to be the person I was created to be, so that eventually I may do what I was born to be, and then at the end of the day have I was born to have whatever what I can have. So I think it's more of a consciousness, more of a belief, because Jesus said something interesting, which was, "It shall be unto you according to your faith." And mind you, Dr. Christie, I don't think he was saying okay, like I said earlier, I believe in a biblical worldview, but I don't believe not in a religious sense, but and I look at the Bible as a constitution of a kingdom, as a book, the book of life, or a book of life. So when you go into the Bible, you are tapping into life principles, principles that governs life and the universe at large. So this what when it says, "It shall be unto you according to your faith," I understood it to mean that, okay, at first I thought it meant that I must have faith in God and in Jesus. But as I kept meditating, I got a different light or understanding that it's not just only about having faith in God or faith in Jesus, but it's about having faith in yourself. It's about having faith in yourself, but believing in you. Because I can believe in God, but unless I believe in me, I won't have the results I want to have in life. Because faith is a principle as well, which is like a coin with two sides, the numbers and also the flag. So one side says have faith in God, the other side says have faith in you, and these things must happen simultaneously. So he says, All things, for example, are possible to him that believes. Not necessarily believing in God, because I can believe in God, but still not have results. So all things are possible to him that believes in himself. Watch this, Dr. Chris. I know this may be a little bit shocking, but you see, I can believe in God for sure, but still not have results. In my country, in my continent, Africa, we just worship God. We just believe in God and all. And I think it is the continent. Probably we are the continent that mostly prays unto God, so to speak. We pray a lot. We fast a lot. We do all these spiritual gimmicks all the time, but still our results, Dr. Christie, are very little.
Yes.
Why? Because in a sense, I believe, have faith in everybody, even in my man of God, and my president, and whosoever may be there. But I don't believe in me. I don't trust in me. I'm not confident enough. You know what I'm saying? So my lack of faith in myself speaks of low self-esteem, and then low self-esteem speaks of a very low vibrational frequency, which of course that repels everything good that life may have to offer, but also attracting unto me everything bad or negative or not so good that life may also have to offer. So as I walk through this valley in my life, I had to have my eyes into the vision that God, that in the vision that I had for my life or my purpose, but also understanding that I'm just here to exercise my muscles, just to exercise my faith muscles, to build my faith muscles up. And and as I do that, I begin to have self-confidence, and as my self-confidence is built or builds up, I begin my self-esteem also builds up, and as these two things begin to grow up in me, then I begin to understand I can make it in life by God's grace.
Oh my God, you said so much. That's a handful. Oh my goodness. When I was listening to you, I want to take the time and say hello to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to put your comments. We'll get back to you. That's right. Thank you again for joining us. And as you were talking, I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. It's not about just having the faith, but you have to have the faith and put the action behind your faith. And you talk
That's
about,
right.
going to church. We do it so much in Africa. And it's not about praying from morning till night, but someone says God only hits moving objects. In other words, you have to have an action behind your faith for God to do something. He has to have something to help you with. If you don't have any action, if you're not doing anything and you just praying and praying and praying, well, what is He to do? He's giving you everything, every power. And oftentimes is that faith muscle that we're not able to build for ourselves is where we get stuck. And I help female entrepreneurs. And when I work with them in terms of narrating your story, and let me tell you, it hasn't been that easy for me because that's why I can
Mm,
understand where they are. Because when people are addicted to their own story. When you get so addicted to your story, you will always find an evidence to support your story. Did you hear what I said? When people
yeah,
are
that's
addicted
deep.
to their story, they will always seek for evidence to support their story. And it's, working through that, the process of letting go of your story and have your story become a cornerstone for you to be a victor, not a victim. That's where the challenge is. And so, talk
That's right.
to us. And you do similar work. You help individuals discover their genius. Talk to us
Yeah.
about this genius code that you have discovered and the philosophy behind the genius code.
Yes, yes, Doctor. Maybe before I delve into that, if you allow me, as I was listening to you, what you're just speaking about, sharing about the work you do, about helping women, and even we as men, we need that as well to narrate our own story. The interesting thing about us is to, I think the most important thing is to understand where we come from, our origin. Because unless I can define my origin, I may have challenges defining where I'm going to. That's my destiny or my future, in terms of vision and purpose. Why? Because oftentimes we define ourselves in terms of our birth, natural birth, and background,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
we allow our experiences also to define who we are. So we need to separate it, to divorce to the two, divorce like between what I do and who I am, or who I am and what I do. They are not the same thing. They're not like two sides of the same coin. What I do is one thing. Who I am is also something different altogether. So, in other words, it is not what I do that should define who I am. It is who I am that should define what I do. But then in most cases, we bury ourselves in what we are doing, in our
Mhm.
experiences, and if the negative, then that's when we even bury ourselves the more. Then we lose faith in ourselves. We lose self-esteem. We get discouraged, and sometimes we even tempted. Some people even tempted to think or about committing suicide because they lose hope in life whatsoever, or they either get depressed forever, different bouts of depression, or they give up on life because they have allowed their experiences to define who they are. But once we understand that who I am is not what I'm doing, then and focus our minds, focus our hearts in who we are, and build the consciousness of our true identity, then eventually what we do will begin to change. And then we need to understand that what our experiences are just events. They're not like permanent things in life. They don't come to determine who we are. Of course, we have to learn from our experiences and get the good side of our stories and move with that, and leave the not so good, so we can begin to be all that we are born to be, created to be, and then do what we are sent to earth to do by the creator. So
You
this
know,
that's it.
go
Please go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. Because while you are talking, I'm thinking about what you were saying. Who we
Right.
are is not the same as what we do, and
It,
it's in that premise that individuals get depressed. Individuals uh, get disappointed because it doesn't work anymore, which is what we do. So how explain more on that concept? What we do is different from who we are. How can an individual begin to understand the difference and take advantage of who we are versus what we do?
right. I love that question, Dr. Christie. I think there are a few things that we can talk sharing this one. Number one is to understand our origin. I believe that everything we do in life has to do with how we answer about five questions. And the first question has to do with origin. Where do I come from? Remember that one day that Jesus on purpose asked his disciples, who do men say that I am?
Mhm.
I, the Son of Man, am. And they began to shoot like the answers, trying to guess. Some say, I mean, they brought the hearsays, they brought the opinions of other people. Some say you're Elijah, some say you're Jeremiah, they say you're this prophet, that prophet. So he had to narrow it down unto them, and he asked them, whom do you say that I am? And watch this, Dr. Christie. If you remember well, nobody actually was able to answer that question precisely.
Mhm.
They all kept quiet. But then Peter spoke up and he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Now, what bothers me here is not what Peter said, but what Jesus then says. He says, flesh and blood did not reveal this unto thee, but my Father who is in heaven. You know what this means, Dr. Christie? It means to say that from all the almost 8 billion people on earth,
Mhm.
nobody truly knows who you are. Nobody. And the person that can claim that he knows you, he has to know you by revelation. The Holy Ghost must tell
Mhm.
him. Otherwise, he's just guessing. He's just guessing.
Yeah.
It's just defining you according to what you are doing. You are
Yeah.
this and that because he's watching you, see what you're doing. But you're not what you do. You are a spirit being. You came from the creator, our parents are just God's guardians. They're God's nannies. And I don't know over there, but in Africa, uh, one of the greatest mistakes that parents make is to call evil names, negative names to their children.
Yes,
And this
yes.
tells you that even our parents do not really know who we are. That's why they treat us the way they do, or they did. And then, and then, and then, if I grew up, I grew in such an environment that has the power to affect my consciousness and affects the way I think about myself. So I have to know that I came from a creator, and because this creator is a spirit being, I am a spirit being. That's why we call ourselves human beings, not
Mhm.
human doings or
Yeah.
doers, but human beings. So this being aspect is the real us, who we truly are, spirit. And then to know how your spirit is, you need to go back to your creator. Because one of the greatest laws of creation says, in Genesis says, every seed shall produce according to its kind, right? So a mango seed produces mangoes, avocado seeds gives you avocado, papaya, etc. So even the creator, he had to abide by the same principle. He had to produce or reproduce sort of himself according to who he is. So he is spirit. He gave birth to other beings called spirits, which we are. So to know who we are, we go back to the creator. And watch this. For example, that maybe the perfect specimen of God, it was Jesus. And Philemon says that though he was like God, he came to earth and functioned on earth 100% like man. So he left his divinity, so to speak, in heaven. He came to earth as man to reveal to us and show to us how can a human being having a God consciousness can function on earth. Because God consciousness is our spirit. And our spirit is just as real and as strong and as powerful just as the creator is. Watch this. For example, you may have with you, let me say, 5 liters of water, right? A bottle.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
I come to you with just half a liter and say, please, Dr. Christie, can I have some water? And you pour some water from this 5 liters bottle into my half a liter bottle. And mine is full, yours is minus 5 mLs, liter, millimeters. But if I ask you, Dr. Christie, what's the difference between these two waters? On your
mhm.
bottle, on my bottle, and you find that there is no difference. The difference is it may be in quantity, but not in quality, because both bottles are H2O. They're both H2Os. So this is the consciousness we have to build to get ourselves divorced from what we do. And then as we begin to understand who we are the image and likeness of the Creator God. Our spirit is as perfect as God is. Our spirit is as divine as God is. We begin to build this. Eventually, when our minds conceive this, our actions will begin to change. I'll begin to see what I'm doing is because of the wrong perceptions I have about
Yes.
myself, because my actions are the product of my consciousness, of my thoughts. That's why Paul says, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. Not just praying and fasting, but the mind, because it is when my mind changes that my actions, my behavior will eventually change. So this is a step that can help someone right now listening to us. And for example, our viewers can maybe take a notebook or something like that, begin to write down what the actions I'm doing, perpetrating, which are not good, not correct, or which I could change, and all that. So let me
Mhm.
say, let me say, from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, doesn't matter. So on the next, you can draw a line, and then like you have 2 columns. On the next column, begin to write the opposite of what you just wrote, right? If it's, let me say, I wrote like, I think what I think about myself, like I'm dumb, I write about that. I'm ugly, I write about that. Then on the other page, or maybe on the next column, I write the opposite. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm a spirit being, I'm a partaker of the divine nature. And I begin to think and meditate about this what's written on the next column, until my mind and my heart begins to soak, begins to drink and gets drunk. When that happens, my mindset and consciousness is changed altogether. I begin to change, first of all, my identity, which has to do with the false selves of mankind, namely self-esteem, which has to do with how much I love myself. And
Mhm.
loving myself has to do with self-acceptance, just the way I am, unconditionally. Number two, it will change my self image, which are the mental pictures I have in my mind, right? My subconscious mind about myself. Because the purpose of my whole body system, my conscious mind, is to manifest, bring into reality that which is engraved in my subconscious mind about myself. So I gotta go into this picture in me to change it for eventually the movie also which I'm watching about my life to change. Let me give you this example. Now we I don't know about over there, but here in the past we used to go to the movie theaters, right? And the
Mhm.
movie theaters, you have these curtains which are closed up. There's this when the movie's on, the curtains open up, and then there's this white wall, and there's a projector come from somewhere in the balcony, and then the movie comes out on the wall. Now, Dr. Christie, let me say I don't like the movie, and let me say I want to change the movie. There are two options which we try to do it. I mean, there's one is wrong, the other is right. I don't like the move on the screen. I can go to the screen and make noise and say, "You guys go, you move, disappear, just get lost." But then it won't help because what is on the wall is just a projection. It's just a
Mhm.
projection. So I have to go up into the balcony from wherever this projector is and change the film itself, right? I'm talking about the past. So this film, those roles, films, I change the role of the film up there, right by the projector, and eventually and inevitably, what comes off on the wall will change. So this projector is my mind. Is my mind. This role, the film, are the thoughts I have in me about myself. So I have to change the thoughts I have about me right in my mind. And when the thoughts change, I have to begin to think truth about me, not just opinions of lies whatsoever. I must entertain truthful thoughts about me. When I do that, the mental pictures that are right here on my subconscious mind will begin to change eventually. And when that happens, what comes out on the screen, which are my experiences, will begin to change as well. Then number three,
Mhm.
that I have to change what I call still part of identity, what I call self concept, which has to do with how I define myself. If you ask me, Dr. Mateus, who are you? Dr. Christie, who are you? How do we answer this question? And believe it or not, our guests have to understand this. Within our minds, we have a definition about who we are. We do have. It's there. It's there. It's there. Whether we are conscious of it or not, it is there. And then lastly, we have also to change our self worth. Still part of the identity, our self worth. How do you think you are really? Are you important or not? Are you significant or not? So this is what we have to do. It's more of a mental work because what's in our mind goes into our hearts. Beliefs are called beliefs in our hearts are the solidification of our thoughts, and thoughts are energy. Thoughts are attractive forces. They attract and repel constantly. So we need to work in our minds, change the mental image we have here, our self concepts, and begin to accept ourselves unconditionally. And this will help us understand I'm not what I do. If I do something wrong, yes, I don't like it, I hurt people and the like, I have to apologize, try to make for it any possible way. But then I have to forgive myself and tell myself, Mateus, you are a work in progress.
Wow, you said you dropped a lot of nuggets, and I love this. I love this. I want you to repeat again those five things. We're not Who you are is different than what you do. Repeat those five things again, just for our viewers, please.
Yes, who we are is not what we do.
Hmm.
That's key. Then number two, we have to change ourselves, how we define ourselves.
How we define ourselves.
Yes, our self concept actually.
Okay.
Next, the mental images we have about ourselves, our self image, mental pictures we
Self-image.
have in our subconscious.
Okay. Number four,
And then our self worth,
our
self worth.
self-worth.
Yes,
Okay.
self
And
faith.
number five,
And then this is our self identity. The things of it.
self self-identity. Oh my goodness. That's a loaded response, and I love that because like you put it so well, perception, it's really false, because perception is just what it is. People When people look at you, they don't know who you are, but they're
Right,
based on your assessment of who you are based on what they see, unfortunately. And what they see may not be, or it's not who you are, it's just what they see. And you talk so well about growing up and how people, especially in developing countries, especially in Africa. I grew up in Nigeria, so I totally understand the
right,
dynamic of living there and now living in America. When kids, because you watch a kid, they don't know no difference. For example, you're watching a kid carry a bucket of water. In that kid's mind, they have no fear whether or not they are going to lift that bucket of water. In their mind, I'm going to lift it until an adult comes by and say, drop it. Don't you know you can lift it? And all of a sudden, believe it or not, the next time, every time that child goes to carry that bucket of water, they think of, can I carry it? Or maybe I can't carry it. And that's the same thing that goes on in life. As we go through life, through our experiences, we take on garbage in our head that
mm,
sometimes when we grow up, it's hard to let go. And when you talk about children growing up and being called names, and parents don't know any better, that's just the way it is. But oftentimes, those names will impact how the child sees himself. Those names, we calling a child, you stupid, you are a non-entity, you don't know anything, all of a sudden that child begins to think of himself as, I don't know anything, I must be stupid, I'm not. Even more so, some parents compare one child to another child. Now
that's
that's
right.
another disadvantage, but I don't think they have or concept of what they're doing or the impact of what they are going to do, because I've had people say that impacted me, the way my parents sees me growing up, because they're always comparing myself to my brother or my sister, and that
Yeah,
impacted me. And oftentimes, even you can have that where it never goes away. It never goes away. And when I work with women in helping them narrate their story, because I understand that your story is really part of your branding. That's how you get to separate yourself from the noise. That's a differentiator in a
I
busy
agree.
market. Absolutely. Narrating your story. Your story, you may have the same people being abused, but the process and the impact is totally different. And one of
Yeah,
the things that I find is that, and I think I said it at the beginning, that you know, it's so hard. And maybe you can help me understand, why is it so hard for people to let go the past that they are
yeah,
so addicted to? And I don't take it lightly, because some of us have gone through trauma, traumatic
Yes.
experience. And I'm wondering, why is it difficult for some people to let go, while for some people, they move on. They dealt with it and they move on. They got a therapy and they move on. They did what they had to do, worked on the issue, and they moved on. Can you share?
I think, Dr. Christie, one of the greatest challenge that those words and the experience we go through, they're hardened into a belief. They become a belief. And as I grew up, I get accustomed, used to these beliefs, and I embrace that. And sort of, it somehow becomes a sort of a comfort, painful comfort. And then it builds in me fear of the unknown and fear of
Mm,
letting this go. So when I think of letting this go, I'm like having to get out, so to speak, of my comfort zone. It's painful,
mm,
but I build a comfort around about that. And my system, my belief system has embraced that, and has buried that into it like it's true. So for me to let this go is not easy for my system, because
mm,
my heart pounds and I get full of fear. And full of fear because I'm letting go of something which I'm now convinced I am, because what
mm,
I've been taught and what happened to me several times, then it became a belief. So to let this go is
mm,
not that easy. And I've learned, trained myself to be comfortable in this wrong belief. I've taken it as true. So when you tell me, you counsel me, you coach me, and all that to do different and show me the other way around, my system inside of us, I think we have our mental memory, physical
mhm,
memory, but also we have our spiritual memory. In our spiritual memory, everything we go through is registered and filed up. So when new information comes to me, you speak to me right now, talking to me right now, my system is on autopilot, begins to go into my
mhm,
file system and search for a similar information. And
mm.
when I find something similar to what you're saying to me, I easily welcome it, receive it. But then
Wow.
when I find a different information, I resist. So the fear, sort of, and apparent reluctance to let go is not on a conscious level. It is on a subconscious level. It is my filing system saying no, 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 because this information is different. It's different. It's not in our system. Not in our system. Not in our system. And then I resist. That's why we have to learn to reprogram ourselves, reprogram our minds, which in reality is all about reprogramming our subconscious mind, which again in reality is all about reprogramming our filing system, injecting a new information. And then this takes work. Some people are Dr. Christie, try. They come to you for coaching, counseling, therapy, and they get out of the office so happy, excited, and they keep trying. But this is what they don't really understand, because what is in me has been there for ages. So I can
Mm.
take 3 steps after after you coach me and you help me with therapy, but then I take 10 steps backwards, because at the end of the day, life is designed in such a way that what is within has to manifest. So what is within is still stronger than the new information I'm trying to inject in my system. That's why I gotta be persistent until eventually I'm at ease or at peace. My system now adopts the new information.
My goodness, you said something. I had to say this because what you were saying goes into the reason that most people don't succeed in business, especially emerging entrepreneurs. So
Right.
you get in lots of information overload, overwhelmed, tired, and you're so excited that you got this new information. Guess what? The moment you step away and get out of that situation and go home and you don't implement that information, guess
Yeah.
what? You're back to square one. And
That's
so
right.
it
That's right.
becomes a vicious cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle But then you find out that once you implement that information, it sticks. Because now, just like you were saying, it sticks. But when you're getting that information, the reason, and it makes a lot of sense, the reason they resist and revert back, because there is a story, and it seems like if they no longer have that story, if they no longer have that story that serves them, though it doesn't serve them very well, but at least they have something to hold on to. But once that story is pulled off, they can no longer say, and I'm not making light of any trauma that people have gone through. That's not what this is all about at all,
Sure,
because I
sure,
have to
sure.
acknowledge that some people go through a lot of serious, serious trauma, which needs a lot of work for them to move on in life. But it makes sense that if you're no longer addicted to that story, if you no longer tell that story, you no longer have an excuse. You're out of excuse. And to a certain extent, you want to use that excuse as an excuse. You want to use that story, that event, that memory, that mental image as an excuse. So, literally, it makes a lot of sense. Dropping a lot of nuggets. Viewers, oh my God, don't forget to leave your comments. And if you have any question, drop your comments and we will get back to you. So, as we're talking about, man, this is huge. This is huge. As you are talking about the genius code, I'm thinking about where will this be important to share? Where do you think, and what do you think? Where and what do you think this will help people do?
First and foremost, I think, Doctor, let me just maybe bring in something. Um, uh, we, I think the first step we have to do is to help people redefine what a who a genius is, because we were taught, we were miseducated as far as the genius concept is concerned. We were taught, for example, that the genius, like in the past, like during the, I think the Greek, the Grecians, the Greek time, we're taught if you're born with certain height, or your nose pointing down, you're born in certain families and all that, you're a genius. And
Mhm,
today we talk about the things called there's this IQ test. If you
mhm.
reach attain certain marks, then you are a genius. Dr. Chrissy, this is not true at all, because that is
Wow.
segregation and that is separating people. In my philosophy, this is what I tell everybody in the whole world, that you are born a genius. A genius, or the genius in you, has nothing to do with your aptitude, has nothing to do with your portitude, has nothing to do with your IQ tests, with your physical postures, your background, nothing. You are just born that way, like a king. You are born a king, right? So, unlike a president is elected, a king is born. So, a genius is born. You are born a genius. In other words, the world right now, as we're speaking, is flooded with almost 8 billion geniuses. 8 billion geniuses. My country, Mozambique, has a population of about 30 million people, and we have in Mozambique right now 8 million geniuses. And you know what that means, Dr. Christie? It means in Mozambique we have right now about 8 million solutions for the problems that this country can ever have. The whole world has
Mhm.
about 8 billion solutions for the problems of the world.
Wow.
But then again, we were miseducated. We were educated away from ourselves into other things. But then
Mhm.
true education, in fact, even the true definition of the word education, it means learning or studying from within, getting inside ourselves and begin to learn from within. because the genius in us is in reality the manifestation of the unknown God, is the manifestation of the unknown creator. In other words, the genius in us is the creator himself who is in us. It is the spirit man. The spirit man in us is the genius in us. That's why the Christian, Paul the apostle says something interesting. He says, who knoweth the things of a man but the spirit inside the man? Likewise, nobody knows the things of God but the Spirit of God. In other words, man in this physical body, there is
Mhm.
something called spirit man. And this spirit man is what gives life to the physical body. Right now, as I gesticulate like this, I do my justice, it may seem like my physical body that's his life, but doesn't in reality. My physical body is the cloth of my
Mhm.
spirit man, right? Of my spirit man. So the real man is not this physical thing you're seeing move my hands. It is the thing inside this body that makes the hands move. This is the real man. And this is the spirit man. This is the genius in every human being. So we are just born like that. And watch this. When we come to this earth, we don't come to earth just because a couple came together. No,
Mhm.
we come to earth mainly because of an assignment. There is an assignment, a mission on earth, or a task, a responsibility that nobody alive can attain to or be up to this the challenge. So God had to ask right in heaven, whom shall I send? And Dr. Christie said to the Lord, send me. And then he looked on earth. Who are the people that have the necessary genes that can accommodate the spirit whom they shall call Christi? And so
Yes.
these people came together. And watch this. The Bible says, blessed is the fruit of the womb. Now, the fruit is not blessed because it's not the okay. It says the womb is a place of blessing. Why? Because it is sort of an incubator. It is the place where a spirit being gets a physical cloth, a robe. It's just there.
Mm.
They get a physical clothing because spirits cannot function on earth by divine law. So they have to put on the robe, the uniform of the
Makes
planet
sense.
called Earth, so that it can come to Earth legally. Legal, otherwise, it will be illegal. So uh, the genius is the unknown God, and because we can never really truly know God, because God is always manifest. It's just, I mean, you keep knowing until you go to heaven. You never come to know God conclusively. So this is the genius in us. This is the genius in us, the unknown God, the spirit man. And then watch this, just to maybe conclude the thought. Proverbs, King Solomon says something interesting again. He says, counsel in the heart of man is like water in a cistern, and it says, men of understanding will draw from it. That's Proverbs 20, verse 5. I'm just paraphrasing. When he says counsel, he's talking about what are called supernatural information of the highest order. Supernatural information of the highest order that pertains to life. It says that this information is inside the heart of man, is inside man's soul. What man is supposed to do is to delve into his heart and begin to withdraw this information of the highest order, which pertains to life. And this information is the information that can make any man function, quote unquote, like God on earth. Can make this man function like God on earth because it reveals the ability, the supernatural ability that this being has inside himself. So, in other words, all the information that you need to be successful, impactful influential in the positive way on earth is already inside every one of us. So the gist of life is all about us tapping, going into ourselves and begin to release or tap into and release the genius in us. So basically, this is the genius in you and the genius in me. It is the manifestation of the unknown God, but also it is and this gives you the unlimited ability. It gives you an unlimited ability to create a paradigm shift. The creator initiated creation, did not finish. So he brought us to earth to continue creating, giving continue with the work of creation. So this is how all I can say now, because we need to understand that the definition I can give about the genius. It is inside us. We are born geniuses. And in case any viewer doubts this, I'll challenge you to watch next time you see a child. Watch children, actually, children from maybe 1 day old into 3, 4, 5 years old. You watch them. Watch them. A child is born with full confidence in him or herself. A child is born with full self confidence. A child believes a lot in herself. She has an unwavering faith in maybe her parents or guidance. She believes in this gift called life. She's got a body confidence, and she believes in her or his creativity, wanting to create, always inventing, thinking. And sometimes we think that they are just destroying the house, but in reality, they're trying to express their creativity. And all this you watch, if you watch, you see that they were born like that. But then if you get these same children about 10 years after that, you'll discover that in most cases, their creativity has disappeared, it's gone. Why? Because the people that have been raising them, not known of what we're talking about right now, and also the educational system began to destroy their faith in themselves and introduce in children lack of faith in themselves. And that's why eventually when they're 50 right now in high school, they no longer believe in themselves, and they go throughout life not having faith in themselves or in the genius in them. So in a nutshell, this is all. Then I came to understand, no, everybody is born a genius. And when you understand this, you will divorce yourself from the spirit of comparisons and from the spirit of competition. You
Mm.
begin to understand that you are an original. You're not a photocopy. You're not a second best. You are a number one.
One.
You're
Yes.
original. And I have a very wonderful quote which I love you so much. Oftentimes I say that originals do not compete, they manifest. You
Oh,
you understand
yes.
that you are an original, you are a
Yes.
number one. You are not here to compete. No, you're here to manifest. You manifest the genius in you.
No.
You manifest what you brought to earth from heaven, from right then in heaven. So you begin to understand you are a man or a woman in a mission, and you begin to understand that sometimes what we go through in life, which are very negative, was an attempt of the enemy to divert us from our own assignment, to divert us from our assignment and also from the genius consciousness. So we have to understand this. The genius is in us. We are all born geniuses, and we came to earth because of a problem that nobody can solve but us through the genius in us.
You said it so well, and I've always said that our fingerprint is by design and not by choice. In other words, it has already been designed. It had already been chosen who you are and what you're called to do on this earth is already been destined. But oftentimes, like you said so well, is when we go through life, the events, the experiences that makes us no longer believe in themselves. And I give that example of a child carrying a bucket of water. In that child's mind, they believe they can carry that water until somebody says, you can't carry that water. And all of a sudden, they begin to believe differently. And it
Yeah.
seems to me here, I don't know whether you see this. It seems to me here we are talking about God's education. We're talking about God's education because everyone is born a genius. And you
Right.
talk about the IQ. Now, listen, I've said it before. Everybody has something in them. What you've been given may not be what I've been given. But that doesn't mean that I'm not genius. It's just what I was called to do, to serve others with, is different from what you are called to do. And oftentimes, through our educational system, we miss the road. Through our educational system, we miss the road. And oftentimes, you see a lot of people, a lot of us, later in our life, we go back to that thing that we are called to be. We go back to that thing. And that's really where you see our genius. That's where you see our creativity because we're doing it with passion now. It's no longer doing it to put food on the table, which a lot of us do. We do some things to put food on the table. We got to face it. But then later in life, you realize that's not really all that I have been called to do. So how do you now train people?
Maybe sorry, Dr. Christie. Just before you go into the next question, allow me to add this, because what you were now you're sharing, basically what we need to understand is that you are a genius in your gift. That's why
Yes,
we
you
don't
are.
compete. That's what I tell. That's what this philosophy is all about. Help people understand that you are a genius in your gift. Because the people that want to segregate us, they'll tell us, for example, that genius is only for maybe academic, scientific endeavors. But I say no. You are a genius in your gift. You play soccer. You own a restaurant. You are a chef. I mean, you're a writer and author, speaker. You are a genius in that area of gifting, and this is that area, that's gift that will when you exercise and manifest the gifting, you are in reality exposing or manifesting the genius in you. So
I,
there are
I
genius for every area of endeavor in life.
I totally agree. You speaking my language. It's just so sad that oftentimes we don't recognize this. We are
True.
not taught that. Nobody educates off of that we've until later in life. But thank God that people like you can still bring this type of education, this type of philosophy in the world for people to think differently because there's something about when you feel good about who you are, when you feel good about who you are, it's amazing what can happen. And I know that in my work with women, I see them come in not believing in themselves. I see them come in because of that past, because of that story, right? They're feeling uncomfortable because they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. And all of a sudden, through working with them, with the process I take them through, all of a sudden, they emerge with confidence. They are
Wow.
speaking all over. They are talking about their story as an empowerment for other people to hang on,
Yes.
rather than looking at that story as something that derails them. And it's so unfortunate that this type of philosophy, I think, it needs to go back even from childhood. It needs
Yes.
to be
Agreed.
taught even from childhood. Can you imagine if a child believed that they can do anything? Can
Wow.
you
Yeah.
imagine what that child will be able to accomplish in life? That will be huge. And you talk about consciousness in this work, in this philosophy. Can you talk a little bit about significant consciousness?
Yes. Significant consciousness, all about, first of all, consciousness is the what I call the normal atmosphere of your mind, sort of a mental attitude. What happens in your mind when you are not conscious? That's how I define consciousness. And that atmosphere is very crucial because it determines the experiences you have in life. So when I talk about significant consciousness, is a way of helping you people build the consciousness that they are significant, that they are important. And this goes about, I think, for stage number one, people need to understand. I have to understand that I am God's gift to my generation. I have to build this thought in my mind. I am a gift, not just a gift, but God's gift to my generation, to the world, not just to my family, my neighborhood, but to my generation. I have a generational assignment. I am a gift. God, so worthy to give me to the world, has His best gift to the world. That's what I have to
Oh, it looks like we're out. We are coming right back. We are coming right back. We are closing this conversation. Everyone, please bear with
have.
us. We're having a little problem with our connection and internet.
I am a solution. We have to. Yes, people, please bear with us. We are pushing this. We have a net connection challenge, but thank you for being with us and bearing with us. So we need to build the army. God gives my generation. That's number one. Number two, I have to build the army of God
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. And don't forget to leave your comment and I will get back to you. We're going to get back to you. And excuse us for the connection, that problem that we are having. We are going to be, he's going to be right back and we're going to close out this conversation. That's right. Are you coming back? Let's see. Let's see. Let me see if I can take him out and bring him back in. Don't know whether that will work. Oh, he's completely out. And let's see if he's coming back in. And we're going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up. But thank you so much for watching us. And if you are watching right now, you do know I appreciate you. If you're going to be watching this later on, please don't forget to put your information. Tell us where you are and what part of the world you are and what do you do. You never know whose life you're going to impact because of the information that you dropped and what you are doing. So if he doesn't come back, it looks like we're going to wrap this conversation. We're going to wrap this conversation. And don't forget that this is the show that that I bring to you every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's right, every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm also going to put our guest information for you to contact him if you want to work with him. And I hope you do. I'm going to put his information in the comment section. Okay. And also, I want to take the time and thank everyone that has been buying the book, The Almanac of Rising Star, my new book, The Almanac of Rising Star. Thank you so much for your support. I'm also going to put the link and so that you can share it with others. Share the link with others to buy the book as well. Also, the link for contacting me if you want information on talk about narrating your story. Narrating your story, as I said, is part of your brand. That's right. What are people saying when you are not there? You have your logo, you have your website, but then you show up. That's right. You show up and you open your mouth. What do you say? How do you say it? How do you carry yourself? It's all about presentation. Presentation, narrating your story is a differentiator that makes you stand out from all the noise. It separates you. That's what makes you different. So if we don't get our guests back, I am just going to take the time and thank our guest for coming. He was dropping lots and lots and lots of nuggets. And until next time, I think I am going to close it out right now. And goodbye until next time, everybody. Bye for now.